everyone. In this video, we are going to discuss about semantic segmentation. So we are trying to get an overview of semantic image segmentation. We have never heard this word before, right? So this word is actually new to us. And by the end of this lecture, you will come to know what semantic segmentation is. What is semantic segmentation and what kind of background knowledge is required to understand that. Okay, so this is what we are going to see in this lecture. So now let us try to understand what is image segmentation. Image segmentation is the task of partitioning an image into multiple segments. This makes it a whole lot easier to analyze the given image. So how can I understand this better? So it is a computer vision task in which we label specific regions of an image according to what is shown. So basically what we try to do over here is what is in this image and where is this image is located. So I'll show you some pictures and I'll make you to understand what is that. So basically what we try to do here, like we try to group pixels together on the basis of specific characteristics. So these characteristics can often lead to different types of image segmentation, which can be further divided as semantic segmentation and instance segmentation. So if I tell more specifically, the goal of semantic image segmentation is to label each pixel of an image with a corresponding class of what is being represented. Because we are predicting for every pixel in the image, this task is commonly referred to as dense prediction. So now let us look into this picture. So what do you observe in this picture? You can see a building. There are some windows. There is a door over here. And there is a car, pavement road, vegetation. Can you see all this? See, there are multiple windows, but you could see that only one window, right? So you should try to understand the difference between the image classification and the segmentation. So what are we trying to do over here? We are assigning a class to every pixel in a given image. So we are linking each pixel in an image to a class label. This is basically called as semantic segmentation. So the label could be like a cat, flower, lion. In this picture, it is like building, window, door, car, pavement road, vegetation, sky, right? So now look at all these labels in deep. You can see that everything is marked in different color. Can you see that? All the windows are represented as blue, and this vegetation, wherever you could see the trees, that is in green, and the sky almost in blue, and then window color and the sky color is different, and then the car color is completely different from that. So what do we try to understand over here? In semantic segmentation, every pixel of the image is associated with a certain class label, right? So we have to try to understand it a little more, right? One important thing what we have to notice here is that we are not separating instances of the same class. We only care about the category of each pixel. Say, for example, if you have two objects of same category in your input image, the segmentation map does not inherently distinguish these are separate objects, right? So that is a different class of model known as instance segmentation model, which distinguish between separate objects of the same class, right? So the segmentation models are useful for a variety of tasks like self-driving vehicles. So if you do a segmentation for the self-driving vehicles, you can see that like a car, and there's a truck over there, and there you could see some vehicles, and then some are marked in green color, could be trees, or there are signal lamps. And so if you look into this, like you can see three features, right? I mean, three colors, right? So this is how it is different. And these rely heavily on such segmented images to navigate through roads. So we need to equip cars with the necessary perception to understand their environment, so that self-driving cars can safely integrate into our existing roads. So just imagine that we are using autonomous vehicles, and then definitely it should be able to do all these labeling, right? Say, for example, it should identify where the posts are, where the traffic lamps are, or if there are any vehicles over there. So it is necessary to understand the environment, so that the self-driving cars can safely integrate into our existing roads. Now look at this picture, like it is medical image diagnostics. It is also playing a major role in a medical field. Like machines can augment analysis, and it can be performed by radiologists, and it greatly reduces the time required to run some diagnostic tests, right? And another application is that portrait mode on Google's Pixel phone. So instead of multiple classes, we have to classify every pixel as either belonging to the foreground or the background, and then blurring the background part of the image. And in photography, like again separating foregrounds and backgrounds in photo and video editing. And then robots. It developed robots that can move and interact objects within their environment. So semantic segmentation is very much helpful in the field of AI. Now let us more dive deep into instance segmentation. Look at picture 1 and picture 2. What is the difference basically we observe over here? In picture 1, see, there are 5 persons. It is tagging, it is labeling it as a person, and here you can see only 2 colors, person and also the background. Am I clear? Right? So if you look into this, you can see that there are 5 persons. So it's labeling like person 1, person 2, person 3, person 4, and person 5. So the different instances of the same class are segmented individually in instance segmentation. So the segments are instance aware. Now let us look into these 3 pictures. The first one is about object detection. The second one is semantic segmentation. Third one is instance segmentation. So in object detection, you can see a bounding box. Can you see that there are several bounding boxes? So it's identifying persons. And if you look into this here, there is a boat, dining table, and flowers, right? So cutlery. So it can detect, right? So it is in object detection task, it is identifying all the 6 people and give them a single label of person by creating bounding boxes around them. In semantic segmentation, it goes further and it creates a mask over each person that was identified. It is identifying all the 6 persons and gives all of them a single label of person. In instant segmentation, every instance a person gets its own label, as we have seen before. Person 1, person 1, person 2, person 3, person 4, and so on. So now let us dive deep into this little more. Right. Okay. So what are we trying to understand over here? So if you look into this, this is basically RGB color image. So RGB is represented as height into width into the number of channels. So it is 3 if it is an RGB image, and like if it is a grayscale image, right? If it is a grayscale image, what will happen now? Height into width into 1, right? So our goal is to take either a RGB image or a grayscale image and output a segmentation map. So where each label contains, where each pixel contains a class label represented as an integer. So how do I understand it better? So let us look into this image now. So here there is a person with a bag or a purse, and there you can see some plants or grass, and then there is a sidewalk over here. There is building, right? Say for example, so these 5 we are going to consider now. So number 1 is person. So now if you look into this label, right? If you look into this label, you can understand that, right? Is it clear? So this one is nothing but the person. So now similarly, if you look into this three are nothing but plants and trees. And here in this place, you could see some 5 over here, right? 5 over here. What is that 5? Basically, you could see over here, right? And then you can see 4 over here, right? So you could see some 4 over here. That is nothing but this place, like that is nothing but the sidewalk, right? And then you can see 5 in this region. That is nothing but the building. Hope it is very clear to you, right? So like what I have taken is I have taken an image and I have created some semantic labels on it, right? So in reality, the segmentation label resolution should match this original input resolution. So like it is something similar to like how we treat standard categorical values. We will create our target. We do one hot encoding the class labels and create an output channel for each of the possible classes, right? So a prediction can be collapsed into a segmentation map by taking the argmax of each depthwise pixel vector, right? So we can now overlay a single channel of our target or prediction. We refer to this as a mask, which eliminates the region of an image where a specific class is present, right? Clear, right? So let us now try to understand this. Like we have a clear knowledge on convolution neural network, right? So whenever we do a neural network architecture, what do? We just stack a number of convolution layers with the same padding to preserve dimensions and output a final segmentation map, right? So we use convolution layers and finally we do this segmentation, right? So this directly learns a mapping from the input image, right, to its corresponding segmentation. So to its corresponding segmentation through the successive transformation of feature mappings. But it's quite computationally expensive to preserve the full resolution through the network. So for deep convolutional networks, earlier layers tend to learn low-level concepts, while later layers develop more high-level feature mappings. So to maintain that expressiveness, we typically need to increase the number of feature maps as we get deeper in the network. So like this didn't necessarily pose any problem for image classification, But we only care about what the image contains and not where it is located, right? So we could alleviate computational burden by downsampling our feature maps through pooling or strided convolutions without any consent, right? So for image segmentation, we would like our model to produce a full resolution semantic prediction. So now I have used a new term called downsampling. I'll explain it in the next slide, right? So the next, the popular approach, what we do for image segmentation model is encoder-decoder structure, where we downsample the spatial resolution of the input, developing lower resolution feature mappings, which learns to be highly efficient at discriminating between the classes, and the upsample the feature representation into a full resolution segmentation map, right? So let us now understand this encoder decoder method little more. So we all know that segment is a group of things that have similar characteristics. So in computer vision, the idea of segmentation is different. So if you look over here, you can see a person, here grass, tree, sky. Here also there are persons, right? Right. So this is what we are going to understand, right? So the one of the most important approach in image segmentation is encoder decoder method. So the encoder has a set of layers that extract features from an image using filters. So the encoder is pre-trained in a task such as image classification, where it will find out the correlations from multiple images. Then this knowledge can then be transferred during the process of image segmentation. So the final output, which is a segmentation mask, it is generated by the decoder. So the decoder is made of layers where it tries to generate the final output. So the decoder also ensures that the generated mask bears resemblance to the pixel resolution of the input image. So now look into the picture. Here there is an input of RGB image. Here there is convolutional encoder decoder. You can see that blue is actually convolution plus batch normalization plus ReLU, and then these are all pooling, right? And then here the upsampling is done. We will discuss it shortly. And then there is softmax, so that output we are getting segmentation, right? So now let us try to understand upsampling, right? So upsampling and downsampling, actually we have come across these concepts in machine learning that's related to no little different. So here we will try to understand what is this basically, right? Okay, so we all know that the computer understands things better in the numerical format, whether it has to do a mathematical calculation, work with multimedia, text, or signals. So these are represented in computer in the form of the numbers, right? So like always we get a question that how to resize the images. Like, so just understand, just think like how the images are stored on a computer. So the image is always broken into tiny elements called pixel, and each pixel represents one color. So in case if you take an image with a resolution 1024 by 798 pixel, then say this means that there are many color points in the matrix form, right? So let's start with understanding this downsampling and upsampling, right? So let us try to understand that. So first, let us try to understand upsampling. So first, let me teach about the downsampling, then let's come to upsampling, right? So downsampling. So the name itself tells us that we have to downscale the image. So it makes the data of a more manageable size. It reduces the dimensionality of the data. So it enables in faster processing of the data. It reduces the storage size of the data. And there are many other uses of this technique depending upon the usage. So sometimes people confuse this with the concept of image compression, which is completely different. Okay. So here what we are trying to do is just we are shrinking the image. So what does that mean? That essentially means throwing away some of the non-essential information. So we can take a hint that we are going to discard some of the rows or columns from the image. So there are many algorithms for this downsampling, like map, box sampling, and sync, right? So there are several algorithms on that. Now, let us try to understand what is upsampling. What does upsampling do, right? So again, from the name, we can say that it is completely opposite to downsampling. Here we may try to increase the number of rows or columns of the images. Number of rows or columns means nothing but the dimensions. So this can be used in many cases, like we use in GANs. GANs means generative adversarial network, where the intention is to construct an image out of random vector sample, mimicking an image from the ground truth or real distribution. So there are some others also, like improving the quality of the image and so on, right? So when downsampling, our intention was simple and clear, but with upsampling, it is not very simple. So we somehow need to increase the dimension of the image and fill in the gaps in the sense columns or rows. Suppose you want to upsample. So here you can also see that there are some examples of upsampling algorithms, or like bicubic spline interpolation and nearest neighbor interpolation, bilinear interpolation, generalized bicubic interpolation, right? So there are several algorithms, and let us try to understand this upsampling. See, look at this picture now. Look into this deeply. Definitely, you can understand that, right? If we want to upsample this original image by a factor of 3, this means you need to add 2 more rows or columns for each row or column in the image using some logic. So one way could be like just you can repeat each column or row in the original image. Clear? So this red, if you see that it is 3 cross 3, black 3 cross 3, again yellow 3 cross 3, right? So if you do this way, you could observe the two images. The original image and the resulting image will look similar, quite similar, but to drive the point home, you have not created any new data. It is not a new data, right? So the duplicated rows and columns are completely redundant, and this method is useless, right? So it does not provide any new information. So a sensible approach to add the new columns will be to interpolate the new data between rows or columns, which provide a reasonably accurate intermediate value using some advanced mathematical procedures, right? So let us see the concept little more to make it more understandable, right?